We are now in section 6, the practice capability development for the change enablement practice. The exam syllabus for this topic would be to understand how the ITIL capability model can be used to develop the practice and how the capability criteria for each level of capability support the practice capability development. The practice success factors that we understood earlier cannot be developed overnight. The ITIL maturity model defines the following capability levels applicable to any management practice. And there are 5 levels defined. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. At level 1, the practice is not well organized. It is performed as initial or intuitive. It may occasionally or partially achieve its purpose through an incomplete set of activities, which means the practice is not mature at all. It is level 2 from where the maturity begins. At level 2, the practice systematically achieves its purpose through a basic set of activities supported by specialized resources. Now, please remember that these 5 levels are applicable to all the practices. Level 3. Here, the practice is well defined and achieves its purpose in an organized way using dedicated resources and relying on inputs from other practices that are integrated into a service management system. At level 4, the practice achieves its purpose in a highly organized way, and its performance is continually measured and assessed in the context of the service management system. At level 5, the practice is continually improving organizational capabilities associated with its purpose. Very briefly, therefore, level 1 means there is no organization for the practice, meaning not well organized. It is done in a random way through incomplete activities. And the practice may not achieve its purpose or may achieve its purpose only partially. Level 2, it is more systematic. There are some basic activities that are happening consistently, and there is utilization of specialized resources. Level 3, well-defined practice, well-organized, dedicated resources, and integration into the service management system. Level 4, highly organized, continuous measurement and assessment as well. And level 5, there is continual improvement. This picture tells us that the practices are defined by ITIL 4, and there are a total of 34 practices in ITIL. And as we know, every practice has certain practice success factors, generally ranging between 2 to 4 per practice. These are the factors required for the practice to fulfill its purpose. And we had dealt with the PSFs for the change enablement practice in an earlier section. Also, for every practice success factor, there are several capability criteria. Some of the criteria are at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. We will be seeing only those from level 2 and up, not at level 1, because at level 1, there is no maturity for the practice. And these criteria are mapped into the 4 different dimensions of service management. So you will see some criteria which are for a specific dimension at a certain level, and others for another dimension at the same level or other levels of maturity. Further on the practice capability levels, for each practice, the ITIL maturity model defines criteria, as we saw on the picture earlier briefly, and that is for every capability level from level 2 to level 5. These criteria for each PSF can be used to assess the practice ability to fulfill its purpose and to contribute to the organization's service value system. Then each criterion is mapped to one of the 4 dimensions of service management and to the supported capability level. Shortly from the next slide onwards, we're going to see a table giving you more clarity about these statements. Then finally, the higher the capability level, the more comprehensive realization of the practice is expected. For example, criteria related to the practice automation are typically defined at levels 3 or higher, because effective automation is only possible if the practice is well defined and organized. So this approach results in every practice having several capability criteria, as many as even 30 of them based on the practice PSFs, and mapped to the 4 dimensions of service management. The number of criteria at each level differs. The 4 dimensions are covered from level 3 onwards. So this level typically has more criteria than others. We will also see some criteria at level 2 as well, but you will see most of the criteria are at level 3, wherein the practice becomes organized. Remember, at level 4, the practice is highly organized, not just organized. Now, this table 7.1 lists all the change enablement practices capability criteria. And we will see this table showing you, first of all, the PSF. And for each PSF, we will see several criteria. And we will also see the relevant dimension and the capability level for that criteria of that PSF or within that PSF. Now, for the exam, you will have to remember this. And I'm going to explain to you how you can remember this easily as well. For example, you can have a question in the exam, such as, if you look at this first entry, changes are usually realized in time and achieve the intended results. The question could be, which PSF does this criteria apply to? Therefore, you need to somehow remember that this criteria is relevant to the PSF of ensuring that the changes are realized in a timely and effective manner. Now, a big clue there is to look at words of timeliness and effectiveness in the criteria, meaning you need to map some of the words from the PSF to the words in the criteria, and then you can do an easy matching to get the correct answer in an exam question. As far as the capability levels are concerned, whether it is level 2, level 3, or level 4, you will gain more easier grasping of that when I show you another table afterwards. So at this moment, it may not be necessary for you to remember these levels in the last column. Of course, the dimension column is much more easier to remember because it is either value streams and processes, or information and technology, organizations and people, or partners and suppliers. And that will be very clear the moment you read the criterion against each PSF. So let's quickly go through the criteria for the first PSF, wherein to ensure that the changes are realized in a timely and effective manner. And the criteria here are that the changes need to be realized in time and achieve the intended results. The change planning and management covers affected information and technology where relevant. And also it covers affected competencies, human resources, and organization structures where relevant. It covers affected third-party services and dependencies where relevant. It covers affected value streams and processes where relevant. And the change processing and implementation are standardized where relevant.